I know you don't like silver linings, but what do you take from Saturday that you can use in trying to win this week and win the last two and get to a bowl?
Yeah, well, I feel like our offense was getting back on track a little bit in that game against a good defense. And, I think that's a positive to take away. But then again, just continuing to try and, not try, but finish drives and get points out of, all those yards.
You guys hadn't seen Diedrich get into the kind of a rhythm that he did on Saturday. What'd you see from him, confidence-wise, as the game went on, and just the rhythm that you found?
Yeah, well, I think that was his best game to date. He played really well out there. I think part of that also was the offensive line doing a great job, and he capitalized. So real happy for him. I think he had a really good game, and we're going to continue to build on that and carry it into this week.
Run game got kind of caught fire last season too, just kind of like this. Do you feel like something has come along, even in the time that you were out? Do you feel like the line has gotten better? The understanding of where the coaches want the backs to run has improved. Are you seeing that?
Yeah, I would say so. I think it's always a process, and I think it's been a process for Diedrich. Just kind of continuing to grow and understand this offense, and this last game was definitely a big step for him, and I think the offensive line has been doing a good job all year, and I think they're also getting better, and it's a process, like I said, for everyone involved, and I think we're starting to get that figured out and getting things turning a little bit.
What would a win just do for everything right now if you guys were able to get a win this week?
Well, I think it'd be big for us, Obviously, we need 2 more wins to get into a bowl game, and that's what we want to do, and it's going to start with this week against Maryland. We don't really have any other choice. That's our mindset, and I think it'd be big for us and big for this team.
What do you fall back on when there have been, this drought you guys are going through? What do you fall back on to know that the process is working and you guys are moving in the right?
Yeah, well, I have tons of faith in these coaches and what we're doing here as a program. So, I fall back on them, fall back in the direction that we're headed. I know how much better we are right now as a team, and we're going to continue to do that. I know how close we are, and I think most of the team knows that too. So we're just going to keep on striving to get better and fix those little things.
What have you seen out of Cam Jurgens when you think about him at the beginning of the year and him kind of being the command center of that offensive line, where he is now through the last couple months?
Yeah, kind of going back to the comment I made earlier, I think he's grown a lot too this season. There's obviously learning curves and just figuring things out, and I think Cam's been doing a really good job, especially of late, just getting things figured out and just playing hard, playing tough. I think he's a really talented guy.
Adrian, JD's closing in on kind of a cool stat deal. He's 40 yards away from becoming the first Husker receiver with 3 800-yard receiving seasons. What kind of special talent is he? And he doesn't speak to us, obviously, but what kind of guy is he in the locker room?
Yeah, I didn't even know that. And I mean, that can speak to it in itself. JD's not the type of guy to boast about his accolades, and he shows up to work every day and gets it done in practice and gets it done in the games. A guy that I've been able to trust pretty much since I first got here. So obviously tons of respect for JD. And, he's just going to keep going. He brings it every game. He's a tough guy, tough little guy. Hope he hears that. And, I'm proud of him for almost reaching that type of stat.
Is he soft-spoken in the locker room?
He can be. It kind of goes both ways. His locker's actually right next to mine, so, I have to deal with him.
Hey, most weeks, Troy Walters, who's the wide receivers coach, has mentioned, this is true of all the quarterbacks, that the quarterbacks have to trust the wide receivers are going to be where they expect them to be. What does he mean by that, and how has that gone this season from your perspective?
Yeah. Well, I mean, really that just means whether it be a vertical route and their landmark where they need to be on that play, or just the timing and their splits, whether they need to bring their splits down and get across the field, whatever it may be, a lot of my timing is kind of based on their routes, and they need to match each other. And I think the quarterbacks and the receivers both, have gotten better at that as the season's gone on. It's a partnership. It's not one group's to blame or the other. And I know for a fact that we've gotten a lot better in that regard, as the course of the season's gone on.
Is there a situation that you can think of where that it was good and it turned out to be a really good play as a result because that chemistry had improved?
I can't say that I can point to one right now, off the top of my head, but I can say that it's gotten better.
Scott and Mario have both talked a lot about decisiveness when as it pertains to you. What is that something that, like, can you feel that during the course of a game, or is it more when you go back and watch tape, you say, okay, here, I know I did it right here, or maybe I should have been more decisive in this?
It's kind of both. I think sometimes you're feeling, in a groove, and you're like, yeah, I'm making quick decisions, so on and so forth. And then other times you go back and watch film and you notice, hey, maybe I should have done this, or should have kept the ball, should have thrown it here, this or that. But I think that I've gotten better with that also, as this season's progressed and kind of finding my way back to being a decisive, playmaker.
Adrian, you mentioned on Saturday about how things, outside of the program on the periphery can be difficult, especially in a year where the team's not winning the way it wants. How much of your mental preparation coming into a season or your career can involve being ready for that too, or do you just have to deal with that as it comes? Yeah,
well, it's part of Nebraska. It's part of playing for a big time football team, and I wouldn't say it's something I necessarily prepared for coming into the season, but it's something that you have to deal with, and luckily I have guys like Coach Frost and Coach Verduzco who support me, and just teammates and everyone who kind of understands the situation. It's not an easy spot to be in for sure, but it's part of the responsibility of playing quarterback and playing for Nebraska. So, there's definitely nothing to complain about.
Scott's talked to you about his own experiences, I assume?
Yeah, and I'd argue his are a lot tougher than mine. So just continuing to push forward and just, knowing I have guys who support me, coaches and players alike, and having fun with it.
I'm addicted to social media, so I think a lot of us are. Are you, or how do you pull out of that or tap out of that, or are you not able to? Are you just drawn to it?
Yeah, well, I would say when this is me being honest, when I first got here, I loved social media, and then, kind of over the course of time, I don't even have Twitter on my phone anymore, so that's just kind of the way it's been, and that's been my way of handling it. And that's just how it goes, especially during the season. You want to try and tune out as much as you can and just focus on, the guys inside the stadium.
Did you take it off because you found yourself focusing on it too much, or why did you take it off?
Well, I didn't want it to be a distraction, and as Coach Verduzco says, and Frost, praise and blame are all the same. So, if you read the good stuff, you got to read the bad stuff, and I'd rather just kind of take that out of the equation.
Do you not read what types of media do you follow then?
I mean, I don't want to hurt any of your guys' feelings out here, No, but I deleted Twitter, and I still have Instagram, still have Snapchat. Those are different, but I try not to read any of the stuff unless something is sent to me, from my parents or whatever else.
Adrian, what do you know about Maryland?
Yeah, first question about Maryland. Yeah, Maryland, they're a solid football team, and they're going to come out and play hard. We're in for a challenge, and I know the guys are excited about it. A road game, and we're pumped to play them.
You're a West Coast guy. Adrian, have you ever been out to the East Coast, or how familiar are you with that side of the country?
I have. I can't say I'm too familiar with the Maryland area, but I've been to D.C., I've been to different places on the East Coast, so it won't be completely new territory.
They have really struggled on defense. What have you seen on their defense that impresses you?
Yeah, well, I think they're a tough group. They play hard. And I think regardless of previous games, this or that, I know they're going to come and bring their best when they play us.
Hi, this is Jason Jorgensen, Sports Director at KRVN. Thanks for watching our YouTube video. To keep up to date with everything we have going on with our sports coverage, you can find that, and we'd love to have you subscribe to our channel. Just hit the little red button in the right corner.